Morning. What I'm making here today in a bit of a precarious fashion is basically a mounting plate for sensory tiles. Over at the elementary school, they have kids that like to touch these sensory tiles, and rather than mount them on the wall directly, they can be used as floor tiles. You can mount them on the wall and they can push on them, but rather than mount them directly on the wall, because it may be necessary to move them down the road, I'm mounting them on a plate which can be hung on the wall and then just relocated if ever it becomes necessary. Unfortunately, I had to cut the plate to a certain size, and the wood shop has received some inventory last week, and for whatever reason they piled it right where an operator needs to stand.
Buckle up for safety as I give you a day in the life of online. No, not online. I'm actually there. Facilities maintenance.
Anywho, the sensory tiles are 12 inches by 12 inches. And so I have cut this plate, which is just an old piece of 3/4 inch maple plywood. Fortunately, we've got a ton of this stock laying around because all the millwork back when the school was first built was made of this stuff. And as needs and things change and shelves and cabinets come down, we've dismantled and saved a lot of the wood. Therefore, it's fantastic for doing projects like this. I don't have to run out and buy stuff. Anyway, I digress. The tiles are 12 by 12. And so I've made this 31 by 31 because that allows me to give 1 inch of space between the 4 tiles and another 3 inches around the border. So the tiles will be spaced out a little bit, and I'll have lots of room to mount this around the outside edge. And so far as mounting goes, because I need the actual this plate to stand off the wall a little bit, because there are some other things on the wall that it needs to it'll be covering, but I don't want to take those out of there because they may be necessary. I will be building little pucks, I guess if that's a good word for them, to go behind the plate, like little feet almost, and that will allow the plate itself to stand off the wall. You'll see what I mean. For a raw piece of wood, I think this looks pretty nice. I've got the edges rounded over here now, and I've hit it again with a sander. So this is nice. This will work. So now I need to make the little feet that I was talking about, and the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to take a small hole saw, maybe 2 inch or so, and I'm going to take the same material, same type of material, and bore out 4 holes, and then those holes will become my little pucks, my feet to mount this board against the wall. And why am I talking in such a pause type form? It's like Christopher Walken. Those pucks will become No, that's not Christopher Walken. We are that. Who's that? Whose voice is that? I will do that.
Christopher Walken is more like, I'm going to take the pucks and cut them for this plate.
I'm thinking Captain Kirk. We have just landed on the planet's surface. Whoa, 2 hands. Okay, so I'm gonna make 4 holes like this on this side, drilling through just far enough so the pilot bit shows me where it is, and then I'm gonna flip it over and finish drilling from the other side, and that way I don't get a whole bunch of breakaway as it bursts through. It also makes it a little nicer for cleanup because I can take this whole thing and dump it in the garbage over there. Whole thing. Get it? Okay, so let's fast forward to my office, and these are the tiles that I was talking about. It's just called a liquid floor tile. I didn't purchase them. They were given to me by the department, and that would be the Learning Support Services Department at the elementary school. And there's the board that I made to mount them on. Yeah, I've just got them sitting here now. As I mentioned while I was laying things out and cutting them, I'm going 3 inches in from the edge with about a 1 inch spacing in between. So that's how they'll be oriented on the board. I think that'll work quite well. That gives me lots of room to drill through. And where are those pucks? These are the little pucks that I made that will be on the back side of the board, right? It's not going to be on the front. It'll be back here, but I'm just showing you orientation wise where it'll be positioned. And yeah, so next steps, I'm going to glue these down with adhesive to the board. I've taken the time now to just position them where I want them, and I'm going to use some masking tape, basically transfer the position to the board in a way that will allow me to then remove them, and Varathane, put a finish on the board in the areas that I want the finish, but not in the places where I want to glue them. Well, you know what? I have decided to forego marking it out with masking tape. The tape will just get in my way afterwards, and I've marked them out with pencil. And the pencil lines are so fine that as I'm moving around here, you may have a hard time picking them out unless you know exactly where they are. And there you can see the lines now. Just so small. But what that allows me to do, and I mark them just on the bottoms, not all 4 corners. I just mark them on the bottom, so when you're standing in the room and you're looking at it, because it's going to be marked, you know, while not in this room, it'll be mounted fairly low on the wall. When you're looking at it, you won't see the lines because they'll be on the underside of the tiles. And because I don't want my office to stink, I am applying that finishing coat in here. So really I am just finishing, as I mentioned earlier, the exposed areas. The areas that are going to be underneath the tiles, I'll get a little overspray on them. I don't care about that. But I'm not going to worry about wasting product on them. Now, in addition to that, the sawdust straight up and down the middle will give me the areas between the tiles. And I'll come back in a little while and hit this with some more. But for now, is all it needs. So because I don't like fiddling with things, I'm going to take these little feet pucks and glue them right to the back of the board where they need to be. The screws that are in there are really only there just to align them to the holes that I've already put in the boards themselves, right? I have these holes in the positions that I want them to be, and these little screws are just they'll just hold it in place for alignment, and I'll glue and clamp the little pucks on the back side like that, and then the screw will just come out afterwards. All four corners are in place, and like I said, the only reason for this screw at this point in time in here is it's a 1/4 inch screw, and that's a 1/4 inch hole going through both the puck and the this mounting board, and the screw is just holding the puck in alignment with the holes that have already been drilled. And once that glue sets up and the clamps come off, the screws will come out, and then the pucks will be in place for when I want to mount it on the wall. And at this point, those tiles are in that box right there. There's no reason why I cannot go ahead and start adhering them to the panel, because that won't interfere with what's going on at the corners at all. And my workspace is getting to be such a mess, it's actually embarrassing. That's the problem when you have so many things on the go at one time. I'm such a visual person that if I put it out of sight, it becomes out of mind, and then I'll forget about it. So if I leave it where I can see it, then it reminds me to pick it up and run with it. But it does make it hard to work around here sometimes, and yeah, I'm actually embarrassed that you guys are seeing this. What I've also noticed on the back of these tiles, they do have like a little thin foam backer. But it's got these ridges, and if you've watched the previous video with mounting the mirror, same principle applies. Less chance of it sliding or moving if I mount this in such a way that these lines are horizontal. So that's what I'm going to do. Put my adhesive down, and I've also spread it out a little bit just using an old paint stick, because if I just leave it in thin beads and it doesn't get spread out that much, then this foam backing, it's my adhesion surface, and it's only as strong as the thin line of the foam backing. So if I spread it out, the contact surface area on the back of the tile is increased greatly, giving it much more strength. And if you remember the other day when I laid them out and kind of arranged the color pattern the way I wanted them to, this top tile is my orange one. So I've just drawn a little diagram up here indicating that my orange was my top right. I got orange, blue, green, and P for pink. And because I know that I have put the adhesive back about 1 inch from the edge, I can move this around a little bit and know I'm not going to squeeze any out. But by moving it, kind of sliding it around 1/4 inch back and forth, up, down, it helps to spread the adhesive out where I need it. And then for fine tuning, see, I can't see my line down there, so I'm going to push this up, 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 up until I see that line. There it is. Go sideways until I see the line. There it is. So that corner is when I can come down just a titch. that one is good. However, if you don't think I'm not going to double check my measurements, you don't know me very well. Perfect. I'm putting the anchors in for the top fasteners on the board, but down low I keep running into things in the wall, and so I am reticent to put an anchor down there because there may be piping in the wall. And this is what's on the other side of the wall, so I am concerned about piping in there. Okay, new plan of attack. I kept hitting something at the height of where the bottom of this will be mounted, all the way along. And then I started thinking about what's in the wall, and I see a Cat 5 plug there, another one there like a communications plug. I see electrical. I see marking in the drywall. I see cuts in the paint. It tells me that what used to be here obviously was some type of workstation that went all the way along the wall here. And so what I'm thinking is that what I'm running into is backing. Like there could have been a 3/4 inch backing put all the way along there for mounting this workstation, and that could be what I'm running into. So I brought my stud finder, and I'm going to see if I can figure out some kind of pattern to what it is that I'm running into. And if indeed I can convince myself that it is backing, I will cross my fingers and put a screw in there and see what happens. Actually, if you ever have a situation like this and you are unsure and you go to put a screw in, do it by hand. Don't use an impact driver or a drill. Do it by hand. And then if there is wood backing in there, you'll feel, it'll be a little crunchy, right? You'll feel that you're turning into wood. At least you should. Yeah, so it's kind of what I thought. If I run my stud finder down the wall, I hit something there, and that will disappear in about 4 inches. Gone. To there. So essentially from there to there, all the way along here is something. So I'm gonna hang this off my anchors. I had to go back to my office and grab a couple of longer bolts, 5/8 drywall plus 3/4 and 3/4. That brings us up to 2 1/8 thickness, and the screws that came with the anchors just weren't long enough, so I had to get some 3-inch screws. So I'm going to hang those, and then I'm going to take a wood screw and I'm going to turn them in by hand at the bottom, hoping that I don't run into anything. Okay, this is a good sign. If I were hitting a pipe in the wall, it would not be snugging up like this. I could feel it bite as soon as the screw made contact, and yeah, it's just that I didn't want to pre-drill, forcing a drill bit through there, because even if I hit a cast iron pipe, I could still drill through that. Plastic pipe would have gone through like butter. So hand screw. Okay, I'm happy with that. Yeah, we're good. We're even level. And while this is probably one of those projects that you will never have to do, I hope you enjoyed the episode. I appreciate you watching. See you next time.